Because eventually Canada.
What would a second Donald Trump term look like?
Well, he cannot be the next president. Because if he is,
You can't imagine the things that he's going to do. Mexico, Canada. We can't go to Canada because eventually Canada will become annexed to America.
And shoot visitors to the White House. Yeah, that means he can shoot the First Lady.
We're going to see violence, the likes of which we didn't even see on January 6th.
Make it illegal to run against him, to throw his opponents in jail, to shut down the media.
He will make himself into the Fuhrer, and he will make everybody raise their hand and salute him.
Using martial law against the American people.
Terminate the Constitution.
To rewrite the Constitution.
Create mass internment camps.
Throw everyone into Gitmo.
Might be sent to jail, or their rights might be suppressed, especially minority groups in society.
You might have any number of things happen to you and your family.
Every one of us, our freedom, our liberty, none of us is safe.
He's going to have people around him executing against an enemy's list.
Assassinate generals.
Ordering troops to attack American citizens.
Trump's very well-armed and extremist base will try to kill people.
He's going to basically burn the house down.
he will unravel the institutions of our democracy.
Draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler.
Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini.
Makes Donald Trump even more dangerous.
Wants to take away your vote.
Senate and the House are immediately going to be paralyzed.
People will begin in their minds to censor themselves. They might say, well, maybe I shouldn't say this.
It's the end of democracy.
I think that could be the end of our democracy.
But democracy is dead if Trump is reelected.
Cozy up to Putin that democracy will be at risk.
The absolute destruction of the Justice Department as we know it.
The Justice Department could be entirely transformed.
I am really concerned about that.
Every person who was associated with the attempted coup elevated in the administration.
If he's reelected, he will curb transgender rights.
The end of the rule of law.
Arrest political opponents.
To persecute, not prosecute, but persecute his enemies.
Take a wrecking ball to the rule of law.
He's going to make the law. Everyone else will have to follow.
A vote for Donald Trump may mean the last election that you ever get to vote in.
To go after the independent and free parts of American civic life.
He would tear down our institutions. Purge the government of employees.
Department by department effort to weaponize the powers of the government.
To use the military to quash protests.
Ridding the government of all democratic safeguards.
Junking American democracy as we have always known it.
That he would try to stay in office beyond a second term. That he would never leave office.
There's no question.
Trump is reelected, he won't leave.
Donald Trump will never leave office voluntarily.
And what that means is that everybody who wants us to remain a republic has to put every other thing aside and work together urgently right now to stop that from happening.
Put every other thing aside, including the Constitution of the United States, obviously.
Yeah. Did she use the R word? Did she actually use the R word, republic?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Rachel Maddow used the R word. She's talking about a constitutional republic.
Cheney used the dog whistle, right? The dog whistle of our democracy. Our democracy. It's not yours. It's ours. It's theirs, right?
Yeah.
That's what they mean.
It's awful. Ron Picard asked, "How do you put these clips together?" I didn't. Grabian.
So do you know?
yeah. Grabian. I don't even know what Grabian is, but
how'd you find it? It's a good one.
It was on Twitter someplace. I think Molly had
3 minutes of projection.
Go to our X channel, folks, and follow us on X because
oh god, you're called
if
it.
you want the rundown for all of the best hot takes on the news of the week. It's our X feed. That's where they all come from. Anyway, welcome everybody. Good to see you, Patty. Thank you for joining us for our Christmas live stream. I'm so sorry. I was looking all day for a Santa hat to wear tonight, and I could not find one anywhere. Not Meijer, not Dollar Store. Not Target, really? Nowhere. So
I have one. I have a Michigan one.
I have to settle for the stupid, ugly Christmas sweater. You can't really see it because it's kind of off camera, but it's got Jeffrey Epstein on it. Here, Jeffrey Epstein on it with some Christmas lights, and says, "Like Epstein, these Christmas lights don't hang themselves."
Yeah.
So,
oh my god.
So anyway, I do also have some eggnog for the stream from Calder Farms. So I will. Pour myself a glass of eggnog here.
I wish. I love eggnog.
This is coming out like paste. Oh my god!
What brand is it? Burger? CF Burger?
Calder Dairy.
Oh, Calder's. Yeah, that's so thick.
250 calories per 4 ounces. Good
Half a cup.
God.
Yeah, that's about right. Oh, look at your.
That is thick. All right, that needs that's a little too thick.
Yeah, theirs is really thick.
Extremely thick. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of this Ironfish Bourbon from Thompsonville, Michigan. That's in Benzie County. Let's see if that makes that any thinner. I don't have a spoon at my desk to stir this with. Oh my gosh, which I'd need because look.
I didn't know we were going to have a mixology session.
It looks like a culture. It looks like a culture that's gone wrong. There's like this thin. Boy, is there anything I can stir this with? I don't think there is. All right, tell you what, folks. I got it.
Do you have a pen?
I have a better idea.
Pour more on top.
Better than that. Just bourbon. never mind the eggnog. It was a novelty, but really, folks, there's a reason why it's not available 12 months a year, because you wouldn't drink that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't get any this year. I had some in my cart and I put it back because I've been eating like a lunatic. But anyway.
Hey, it's Christmas. I've been spending like a lunatic. I gotta stop. I renovated my garage though, so that was nice. I moved my drum kit all out into my garage so I can actually play it. I put a heater in there, but I put a bunch of insulation so I can climate control my garage now. So that'll be a fun project. I'm going to see my folks tomorrow, and I'll be gone for a bit, but I'm gonna definitely get back into that when I get back. Anyway, getting back to the political insanity. So I, as always, will be the first to admit when I am wrong. And I had said a long time ago, there's no way any court's going to countenance this absolutely retarded, insane attempt to prohibit Trump from being on the ballot. And yet the Colorado Supreme Court has. So I have to eat crow and admit, I'm sorry, folks, I was wrong. Yes, they are that crazy. But that being said, I think in the long run, this is a good thing for us. Because this is beyond the pale insane. And I know what you guys are feeling. What?
It's beyond the pale insane to us.
To us. And I know how folks watching are feeling, because I know I felt it.
Yeah.
The knowledge that that's how precious our republic is, that if the Supreme Court of the United States was with a liberal majority, they might uphold it. They might uphold what the Colorado Supreme Court did. That's how close we are to absolute tyranny, to the complete destruction of the constitutional system, the most anti-democratic decision of our lifetimes. And y'all probably know this already, but just in case, I should probably go through it. Like, point number one, Trump was not only not convicted of any crime of insurrection, he was acquitted of insurrection in an impeachment trial. Acquitted.
I don't think he was actually even charged with insurrection.
Well, it was kind of sort of what the second impeachment was about.
The impeachment, but any of these charges that are coming on and around January 6th, he's never been charged with insurrection.
You could be right about that. I'm not entirely positive what all the different charges about Trump have been these days. There's so many of them. I haven't tracked them all. I don't know if that's what Jack Smith was pursuing or not, because there's been so many I've lost track. Mm-hmm. Matt Wilkes says the Colorado Supreme Court has 7 out of 7 judges who are Democrats, appointed by Democrats, and the vote was still only 4-3. So that's encouraging. That is encouraging. Nevertheless, still, the fact that any Democrat judge would be... And the other thing, too, I should say, is in Colorado, the judges are appointed by the governor. Whereas in Michigan, the judges are elected by the people. So in Michigan, you would think a Democrat judge would be even more inclined to vote in favor of all of the BS insurrection nonsense, because that's what Democrats apparently think is legitimate, is valid. Wait, I showed that clip. Patricia Farmer says, "Why were we subjected to having to watch that BS video before your podcast? Seems like a sketchy move." Well, Patricia, we always we not always, but we try to always have a cold open clip to give people time to come on and join the show. And secondly, because you need to know what people are saying. You know, honestly, I didn't realize how crazy the mass media was before I saw that, because I don't watch MSNBC all day, every day. But, you know, people are going to be going home to their families. And chances are you've got people in your family that don't see things the way you do politically. And you need to know what they've been subjected to, where they're coming from.
What they see, right?
Yeah.
What they hear. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when we were talking about Carl Rittenhouse, you know, to people that followed the case closely, you're like, okay, obviously this was a self-defense case. You had the first assailant who was a child molester who had his hand on the barrel of the gun before he pulled the trigger. Second assailant hit him in the head with a skateboard, clearly trying to murder him. The third assailant had a gun in his hand pointed at him when Kyle pulled the trigger and blew his elbow out. And then when you talk to people who are Democrats about the Kyle Rittenhouse case, they didn't know any of those things. They think Kyle Rittenhouse killed black people. that's how absolutely disconnected from reality they are.
And he crossed state lines. That was the other one.
Yeah, he crossed state lines, which apparently gives you grounds to kill somebody. You know, when you cross state lines with an illegal gun, then you have to allow yourself to be murdered. That's the law in Kenosha, apparently. Ron says, on the spot, what's your prediction on the U.S. Supreme Court decision? They will slap it down, but it will be a lot weaker than we should want. Because let's be clear, what I would want is the U.S. Supreme Court to say, this is so extreme, this is so insane, this is so beyond the pale, that the judges in this court can no longer practice law or be judges. That's what I would like. But every lawyer, every judge would say, you couldn't possibly expect that of the Supreme Court of the United States. Well, no, I don't expect it of them, but we should. We should. That's how fucked up this is. We should expect the U.S. Supreme Court to award huge monetary damages to the Trump campaign from the plaintiffs and all the amici, the amici, and all of the people filing these briefs from the Center for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, who are the people that brought the suit.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't. Of course they won't, because that would be unprecedented. That would be unprecedented. A state Supreme Court banning the front-running candidate from a political party from the ballot in the state. That's unprecedented, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the U.S. Supreme Court awarding damages to shutting this shit down once and for all. No, that's inconceivable. And it is. Honestly, it is. It's not going to happen. The U.S. Supreme Court, keep in mind, folks, remember, after the 2020 election, Texas and I want to say 17 other states.
That was the fact that they didn't take that lawsuit is just ridiculous.
Yeah, the media had so much coverage from they'd cover from all of the other bad lawsuits, but the prime lawsuit in 2020 was that Texas multi-state lawsuit against these other states for their election procedures.
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme Court said, no, we don't have. They did some absolutely insane excuse, like we don't have standing, which they not only had standing, they had exclusive jurisdiction over it because it was a state versus state issue.
Yeah,
and they didn't take it up. And that cowardly decision from the U.S. Supreme Court emboldened all of the garbage that's coming down the pipe today, and it's awful. So, Jeff says, don't be so sad because 4-3 ain't bad. Until Matt Wilk had posted that comment that it was all Democrats and it was a 4-3, I thought that actually that was an all Democrats thing. So good to see that it wasn't. Randy says, problem is MSM has been screaming insurrection and Trump for almost 3 years. Most average Americans believe it. Do they? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I think you're hard. You do, Patty?
Mm-hmm.
I think because, I have family who are hardcore partisan Democrats. That's not average Americans, though. They're not average Americans.
I sang it, Jeff. I sang it that way, just FYI.
Oh. Well, you can sing. I don't even know the song, so.
Patricia Farmer keeps accusing us of stuff.
You're spreading that narrative from that video through the back door. Patricia, okay, whatever.
No, you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. Let's read some comments on Rumble. Charlotte Cosmic says, party at Adam's house. No, there's no party. I'm getting up early in the morning to drive out to see family tomorrow. This is the last aspect of my pre-Christmas partying before I have to go to see family. Firewife 9 on Rumble says, so can the National Convention still make Trump the candidate on the ballot? How do we fight this moving forward? Yes, they can. And we'll talk more about the National Convention very soon. So I'll come back to that in a moment. Hitman 48 says, Colorado is removing Trump and Carano is removing district members. Is there a correlation here? No, not really. The thing I've noticed is Carano has been milking the fact that they filed this amicus brief that the court basically ignored and didn't even recognize was filed until after they made their decision, as if they changed history when this exact same brief was filed before Colorado. It's just a question of what the judges chose to do. So, just taking credit for things they didn't actually do. And then Hitman 48 posted 4 or 5 times in a row. I hope that was a mistake. Please, guys, don't spam your comments. Just trying to figure out how removing district members helps fight Joe Biden in 2024. Am I missing something? We'll come to Kristina Caramo in a little bit here. But first, a couple of the points. By the way, sorry about that belch there. That must have been the whiskey. Probably some more thoughts about this Colorado decision. This is like I said, we're going to be having these conversations at the Christmas dinner table with members of our family who are hardcore Democrats, and I think this is a bridge too far for most of them. Even like my father is a hardcore Democrat. He's also an attorney. And he's going to look at this and go, yeah, there's an evidentiary burden here. there's things that are problematic. And, someone else, actually, the Duran Alexander Marcos made the point. There's been this fight in Washington over funding for Ukraine and Israel. And the Republicans in Washington are going to come back and they're going to be like, wow, you are literally trying to prevent our candidate from being on the ballot. We are even less inclined now to compromise with you than we were in the past. It's going to galvanize Republicans. I think it's going to, I think a big part of why Trump got elected in 2016 was this entire narrative throughout the process, starting in the whole primary contest. Remember, in 2016, in Iowa, it was not clear that Trump was going to be the nominee. But there was this narrative throughout the entire campaign in 2016. Donald Trump cannot be president. You cannot support Trump. And voters were like, oh, yeah? Watch us. And I saw that in the Iowa caucuses, the New Hampshire primary, the convention, and then finally the November election. People don't like to be told you can't vote for somebody. I think all this is going to benefit Trump in the long run. And that's a good thing. So, it's a terrible decision. And I think part of the reason why I wouldn't expect it was because I think it's technically a very poor choice. But what it shows you folks is that they can't control themselves. They can't control their emotions. They can't control their hysteria.
Yeah, that's true.
And by the way, that also means they're going to do everything they possibly can, legal and illegal, to hijack the election in November of next year. And we'll be talking very, very soon about getting signed up to become a poll worker, because that's going to be absolutely critical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that on your website. I'm going to copy that. The sign up section.
Oh yeah. We're going to launch a full court press. I meant to launch it earlier, but then some people were asking me, "Can you talk more about Kristina's stuff?" I was like, "Okay, let's do that. It's more time sensitive." But yes, we need people to become poll workers. We will be working with the RNC once again. They actually had someone in Michigan last 2 years ago.
They do again. I've spoken with her.
And they have another one again too.
Yeah.
Who worked with the same person on the team last cycle.
She was the deputy last time, and she's the chair this time, or the lead.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's outstanding. I
guess yes and no. What concerns me is the emphasis on poll workers instead of election inspectors. I don't think we should be doing that. And then the other thing
you mean poll challengers?
Huh?
Poll workers are election inspectors.
Correct. Did I say poll workers? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
poll challengers. I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes. The emphasis on poll challengers instead of, especially when they had some legal ruling about credentialing and stuff, like we're just setting ourselves up for something not good. Like people should try to be an election inspector, which is where you fill out the application and you get hired and you are sitting there at the polls or at the EB County Board or now early voting or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The number one thing is to be, basically being a poll worker is like being a poll challenger, except you have actual power and you get paid. That's the big distinction.
Yeah. Yeah, the poll challenger, that's what they can kick you out. They can, there's just too much uncertainty. I don't think the effort should be to get election inspectors.
Yeah.
And the other thing I don't like either, that they want to send them all over the country. I understand that, but we need them working in our county too. And you need them working in your county too. You know what I mean? If they sign up through the RNC, they're going to send them all over the state.
Well, what I would encourage people to do is apply in your local community and also apply in the nearest problem area, meaning Detroit, Ann Arbor, Southfield, Saginaw, places like that. And Canton, yeah. Places where fraud is likely, blue collar districts.
Canton's a problem.
Westland, huh?
Canton is a problem.
Yeah.
People don't think about it, but it is.
Yeah. And then if you get hired in one place, go there. And you tell the other people, sorry, but I can't do it. And that's okay. In 2020, I was hired by Detroit to work the elections. So when I got hired by Oakland County, I told them, sorry, I can't do it at the last minute, and that's fine. Barry Altman on YouTube says, black men will stop the vote cheat in Detroit, not poll officials. I would probably say neither to that, Barry. But
I don't know what that means, but
no,
okay.
No. First of all, ordinary citizens can't. That's part of the problem. And to a huge extent, the Democrats in Lansing have just criminalized almost every way to prevent fraud from happening. They've made it a crime to intimidate election officials and so on and so forth.
That's another reason why we can't, if you be a poll challenger, they're accuse you of that, right? If you're the actual official, which is the inspector or worker, all synonyms, right? Then you're better off.
Yeah. Also, there's been a couple of comments in the chat about an order that just came out like literally hours ago, ordering the redrawing of House and Senate districts. My thoughts. My thought is this is probably going to get appealed and probably overturned on appeal. I think, if I had to guess, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that. Huh?
Only the ones surrounding Detroit where the problem is then?
Yeah, and there's this long comment from Randy, which I can't go all the way through. But it sounds like most of this is in particular about the Detroit area, which probably means not too much for the Republican prospects for majority, because they're liberal districts in general, and the issue that's being contested in court is that there's not enough black majority districts, basically. But the way they drew the districts was kind of a pinwheel going out from Detroit, so that there was, parts of Detroit with parts of Metro Detroit, so therefore there was not enough majority black districts. But I mean, to me, it's surprising because the courts typically are very hesitant to take on political questions like that. So all I can say is we will see. And I don't know. This is breaking news. I haven't even had a chance to look at which court this was. I hope I'm not wrong. It actually was an appeals court that did this, but because I see this, it says federal judges plural. So maybe this was a federal appeals court, but we'll see. I don't think this is going to have much of an outcome on. Well, certainly would have an outcome on the Senate districts in the current cycle because there are no elections until 2026. But we'll see. We'll see where this comes. Matt Wilkes says, it was a district court panel. Says the case is likely to be upheld. It mirrors a previous SCOTUS case in Alabama. It won't be stayed by a 3-judge panel, so time is very short. I'll defer to Matt on this. He'll know better than me about this. But I will say it probably will not ultimately have an outcome on the partisan mix of the state legislature. It'll probably just be a huge headache for Democrats, which is fine by me. So we'll see. Okay, some other news before we get to our big story today, which is the Kristina Karamo document drop. Dana Nessel has charged Robin Ann Menard with some sort of corruption charges in office. Let me pull up the story. Embezzlement charges in a Nessel unveiled today against former House Speaker Lee Chatfield. Now, Lee was the House Speaker a full term and a half ago. So, 2019 to 2020. And according to a press conference, Nessel said Robin Ann Menard financially exploited and defrauded political fundraising accounts through a pattern of improper reimbursements, double billings, and falsified records. She claims these were concrete abuses in black and white, so much so that in some instances, it's obvious they were counting on the fact that no one would ever review it. I don't know if that's true or not. Also, I have to say, folks, I don't care very much. Lee Chatfield and the Menards treated John Riley like shit when he was a lawmaker, in contrast with Tom Leonard, who was, treated all of his colleagues very respectfully. So I couldn't care less about what happens to them. Frankly, it's old news. It's old news, and it's not going to change anything in the long term. So if Nessel's, I don't honestly know. If people want to bring me information that leads me to care, you are more than welcome to. But apart from that, and there's been a lot of this relates to apparently the marijuana industry. Earlier this year, Rick Johnson, who was a former House Speaker, and some others pleaded guilty in a bribery scheme involving the marijuana industry brought by federal prosecutors. And apparently the Menards were also involved in lobbying for a bunch of marijuana stuff, which, I remember the whole marijuana lobby was going all in for this huge regulatory scheme a few years ago. We managed to beat that back, in fact, a few years ago, and it hasn't come back. So maybe it's gone for good. I think it probably is, because I think probably by now people have realized that the marijuana industry is not as profitable as people thought it was. So let's hope that's the end of it, but we'll see. Other than that,
smellier than I thought it was.
Huh?
I said it's smellier than I ever thought it would be.
Oh, I know. It's
everywhere. It's so gross.
Yeah. And look, folks, I'll smoke weed occasionally. I still can't stand this shit. I can't stand these stupid billboards everywhere. I can't stand walking on the street and smelling it, or going into a store and smelling it in the store. It's gross. I like the stigma better, put it that way. And I'm a libertarian about this whole thing, but nonetheless, get that shit out of my face. It's gross.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Says Merry Christmas.
Hi,
Merry
Heather.
Christmas to you, Heather. By the way, folks, we are on X. We are now able to view people's comments when we are streaming live on X. So join us there. Also, since I thought of it, remember, if you haven't already done so, to like, share, and subscribe. We are, I think, just shy of 1,000 subscribers on both YouTube and Rumble. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share the stream, tell your friends. We're one of the only political shows in Michigan talking about all the crazy stuff going on in
triple digits
Michigan
almost.
State politics. Sorry, what?
So triple digits almost.
4 digits.
Oh yeah,
the 1,000 mark. Yeah.
Yeah,
What else
I'm
happened this
sleepy.
week? This was hold on. Let me find the video for this.
Oh my God. Look at Dwayne Zantop. The nurse that was tending to me at Ford had just smoked a joint.
Yeah, it's fucked
At
up.
Ford, at Henry Ford, not Ford Motor Company, just FYI. Just clarify.
Yeah. Oh, so this happened. This is a Democrat staffer, Samantha Skorka, who apparently works in the media department for the House Democrats. And here she is putting a smoochie on the sexy, this is, according to her, the sexy satanic Baphomet goat altar at our Michigan Capitol. Amen. Which I guess is some sort of statement about free speech or something. It's really a statement about Satanism, though, is what it really is. By the way, so much for that animal rights stuff, using a goat's skull in your disgusting depiction. We had a
So is it still up?
I don't know. We have a here, let me find the video of this. Josh Shriver did a nice video about this. Let me find it here. By the way, Josh Shriver had a fantastic voting record this year. Enough credit for good work he does. Yeah, here's the video. Hold on, let me pull this up here.
Thing that's going on.
Can you guys hear it?
Josh Shriver here. Just wanted to share with you a disturbing thing that's going on the Capitol lawn. You essentially have a statue of Satan who lies, steals, kills, and destroys, authorized to appear on the Capitol steps during this Christmas season, with a disclaimer from the Capitol itself. Right next to the nativity that celebrates the coming of the Savior of the world, Jesus Christ. And it's something that is disturbing to me, because we swear an oath to uphold the Constitution, so help me God. We stand under the banner, in God we trust. We say the Pledge of Allegiance to a nation, one nation, under God. And at the end of the day, I wanted to leave this note to encourage you that it is finished, that Satan has been defeated by Christ, and we have every single reason to believe that the power belongs to the creator of the universe, to God, to Jesus Christ. And so as we head into Christmas, I just wanted to lift up your spirits and to say, even though it's very discouraging to see what's going on our Capitol lawn, that there is a reason to believe, there's a reason to have faith, and to pursue the virtues, to pursue the fruit of the Spirit: peace, patience, joy, self-control, and there's power in the name of Jesus. And so I wanted to lift you up and to tell you that despite this discouraging state, that we can still have a Merry Christmas in Jesus' name. God bless.
So there you go, folks.
Oh boy.
Yeah. By the way, Shriver also, let me pull this up here.
Jeff Buzz.
As long as the Democrat staffers are not trying to have sex with that goat. She took down the tweet, but who knows? Maybe she was involved in putting it on. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, this is Josh Shriver, based on 49 critical votes, chosen as the Michigan House of Representatives' most conservative lawmaker by Merce News. We have our own scorecard, folks, and I mean, he's up there. Some people might say Neil Frisky is the same or close to it, whatever. But there you go. Most conservative was Josh Shriver. And at the end of the day, I care more about that than I do about anything else that these guys do. I mean, a lot of them introduce good bills that don't get anywhere, make strong statements that don't do anything. But at the end of the day, voting right means a whole lot. By the way, this shows how gross this is. This is what's now become of the eggnog with the whiskey on the top. It is now starting to ferment and start its own colony, I think. Maybe not. Maybe.
I think it just needs to be stirred.
I don't know. There's definitely some congealing going on. Look at that slime. You see that there? Gross. This is going in the garbage as soon as the stream is over. I don't know how they do it when they sell eggnog that's already pre-mixed with alcohol in it, but that's the way to go, folks. Do not try to add alcohol to your virgin eggnog because it will be a disaster for you. Lesson learned. Adam for Christ says, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad. And despite this silliness, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I know I'm being very silly. No, I know you're talking about the Baphomet thing. But yes, very, very, very silly stuff. All right, let's get to the other thing too, which is that I did finally send out the documents, which despite having only come out a week and a half ago is already outdated. This is Kristina Karamo's well, it's the Warren Carpenter report from Kristina Karamo. In fact, let me play this video. This was from CBS News just the other day. This was before the final report came out, but here we go. Here's the video.
CBS News Detroit has received a draft of a so far unreleased report that outlines the dire financial straits of the Michigan GOP.
It's been months in the making and also outlines possible criminal behavior by the party chairwoman.
Our Elle Myers joins us from Lansing with more on the party's ballooning debt.
Confirmed hard factual debt that we have on the books right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of $620,000. But there is still the possibility of unpaid contract obligations for the Mackinac Grand Hotel. The potential net fallout could be $770,000 in total debt.
In his draft report, Carpenter alleges the Michigan GOP owes more than $500,000 to Comerica Bank, which the party has done business with for years, plus approximately $110,000 to an actor who spoke at a conference this last fall.
She's disenfranchised Republican voters themselves and is providing no support to state candidates. That means school board members. That means conservative judges, conservative DAs, conservative commissioners, trustees, mayors, all the things that most impact your life.
Okay, let's stop right there for a second to point out MIGOP has never done anything to support these local candidates. Nonetheless.
Not their role.
Huh?
That's not their role.
Yeah. Nonetheless.
Right? They're supposed to be statewide, right?
Yeah.
And president.
Just calling these plays fairly, folks. You know, this they're not to diminish from this report because everything about the state of the MIGOP is damning, but no, they have never done anything on local races, and they're not going to do anything on local races now, except perhaps to usurp the authority of your county GOPs. But that's what we're going to come to in a moment here.
That are closest to home are going to have no support from a state party, which is the bulwark in these elections that help get these candidates over the line. So it will be a slaughter.
The report also alleges Karamo's effort to sell the former headquarters in Lansing, which is owned by Seymour Street LLC, could
Hey, who's that behind Kristina in that stock photo there, or that stock footage? Is that Alexandria Taylor? That is Alexandria Taylor. Let's come back to that in a moment here, folks.
Constitute a felony for violating Michigan's campaign finance laws. In an emailed statement Thursday, Karamo attacked Carpenter, saying, quote, "This individual is part of a network of corrupt individuals throughout Michigan who pose as political conservatives highly invested in turning MIGOP to its previous decades-long being managed as engineered ineffectiveness and in a co-conspirator relationship with Democrats and their media accomplices." End
quote. End quote. They had to read the entire thing so they could convey to the viewers that that's not a sentence. This individual is part of a network of corrupt individuals. By the way, bad form using the same word twice in a sentence. Throughout Michigan, who pose as political conservatives, highly invested in turning MyGop, as she would pronounce it, to its previous decades-long being managed as engineered ineffectiveness and in a co-conspirator relationship with Democrats and their media accomplices. You know, folks, you've seen my email blasts. You know I screw things up. You know I make typos. You know words get omitted or repeated sometimes. And every time I catch one and someone tells me about it, I feel stupid because I know I look stupid. But at least that was just an email blast to my constituency. This is a reply to the mass media that it just got played on TV. You might want to proofread the garbage you send, the bunch of words. Yes, the bunch of words, the mindless ramblings that you send to the mass media. And of course, it's just the same pattern as it is everywhere else. It's just call names. Just call names. That's the strategy. That is her one and only strategy. Doesn't matter if it's Warren Carpenter, who was a supporter of hers for a very long time. We'll look at another example in a second, but let's let this play out. It's almost over. Here we go.
Now, the full report called The Failed Leadership of the Karamo Administration is expected to drop late Thursday night. For now, reporting in Lansing, I'm Elle Myers, CBS News, Detroit.
There you go. So that was just Randy says, just blame it on globalists. That's the way they operate. But let me bring in this news story here. This is actually where that video was played from, and here is an interesting quote. By the way, I love this. The incompetent dumpster fire, and the quote is from Dawn. I want to say Batty, but let me find the quote right here. It's so hard to find the thing you're looking for in an article. You got to just scan right through it. Here we go. Dawn Batty. That's right. Okay, I was correct. If I would have known that Kristina Karamo would have turned out to be such a tyrannical, incompetent dumpster fire, I would never have worked so hard to get her elected. For that, I apologize, wrote Dawn Batty. Yeah. By the way, congratulations, Dawn Batty, on getting that quote into the CBS News right there. And that's the thing that's so awful about this whole Kristina narrative is she blames everybody of being a saboteur, being a conspirator, being a globalist, a deep state shill, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The reality is the people who are working the most diligently to expose the truth about her and to get the state committee to get rid of her are her own supporters, people that really supported her and have become disillusioned. So this whole game that she plays. By the way, this Alexandria Taylor. Interesting stuff about Alexandria Taylor. Why is she in this? I don't know where this footage came from. Folks in chat, if you know where that footage came from, please let me know in the chat where that photo with this KK backdrop. That is, for those who don't know, that thing you see behind you. I forget the term for it. It's this big panel you use in news conferences. This 8x8 panel with this checkerboard pattern. You see her logo in this diagonal form there. So Alexandria Taylor is at some sort of news conference. Oh, Paula Necki says she represented KK in her lawsuit in Detroit. Wait, Paula, are you saying Alexandria Taylor is an attorney for Kristina in her lawsuit against Comerica and the trust? Is that right? Or is that a different lawsuut? Okay, she says, yes, I am. Yes. So I just want to make absolutely sure we're clear about this. Alexandria Taylor, candidate for U.S. Senate, is an attorney. Oh, he said no. Okay, no, it's a different one. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, wait a minute, because that'd be too insane to be true. But okay, that's still. I mean, okay, so I guess it must have been an election-related lawsuit, different lawsuit. Yeah, election-related lawsuit. Okay. Jeff Fuss says that's one of the run-on sentences which runs on within my deep state rhino mind. Okay. So it was the election integrity lawsuit. Okay, there we go. I'll catch up with you guys on Rumble in a moment here, but let me go back to why I'm bringing up Alexandria Taylor because that's a whole other issue. You may have seen this story from Brandon Hall, who got the scoop on this. This is Alexandria Taylor, who was right behind Kristina Caramo in that lawsuit. Here she is with Gretchen Whitmer. You know, people get attacked from time to time for taking photos with Gretchen Whitmer. I've heard of that even happening from Kristina's people against our people. But there might be some sort of context behind this this photo here. So you have Alexandria Taylor, so honored to receive the endorsement of the Michigan Democrat Party Progressive Caucus. Much like the Progressive Caucus, Alexandria is a voice for the powerless, holding the powerful accountable. Send this change maker to Lansing on August 7th. Elect Alexandria Taylor to, I guess, the State House or Senate on August 7th. As strong as the teachers union in Romulus.
I'm sorry, she's running this year?
She's running for U.S. Senate as a Republican this year. Here she is in 2018, however, not that long ago. I'm with the teachers unions, support the teachers unions who support your children. Today, I picketed with our teachers in their fight for a contract, fair wages. She's with the teachers unions there. Time for changes now. Alexandria Taylor for 34th District Judge. This is in 2020, so we're now a little closer to the present. She is now running for judge, district court judge. Time for change is now. The REA, the Romulus Education Association, supports Alexandria Taylor. And this goes on. Barry Altman makes a good point. Well, an interesting point, a point to talk about. A lot of us were originally Democrats. I once took a picture with Mike Duggan. I am stone cold conservative today. I am too, Barry. I was raised a liberal Democrat. I was a hardcore anti-war anarcho-communist type in college. And that's been used against me in a couple of political skirmishes I've had in my lifetime. I understand that people can sincerely change their opinions in politics. However, there's two issues with this. First issue is I didn't run for office. When you run for office and you have a huge, long history, you know, people expect you, okay, explain yourself at least. And if you've run for office as a Democrat and then a couple of years later you're running as a Republican, you know, you might stumble onto that, you know, that Arlen Specter-esque problem of people thinking you might have changed party just to get elected. You know, that kind of thing comes up. And therefore you have to actually explain. And by the way, I have no problem explaining, you know, my transition. It was simple. I was an anti-establishment guy. I got into the Ron Paul campaign in 2008. Taught me conservative principles, became a conservative. I mean, discovered I like guns. Discovered the pro-life argument is a better argument. You know, stuff like that. You know, people can change, people can mature. But when you are someone who, as recently as 2018, is saying congratulations to Stacey Abrams, you know, okay, are you going to perhaps remember she was a candidate when she said these things? You're going to perhaps put out a kind of statement saying, I no longer have these views. Here's why my views have changed. Because she hasn't done that. She's just kind of changed she's like a chameleon. She just, oh, now I'm a hardcore conservative Republican. This is not a past she has owned up to or faced, you know? I mean, people can do that. Joe Bellino was a hardcore alcoholic and drug addict. And when he ran for state representative, he said, I was a hardcore alcoholic and drug addict, and I own up to my past, and I've been in recovery for years. And the fact that I've been through this experience has informed my opinions on public policy. You know, that is the way that you can own up to your past and acknowledge it and atone for it and move on and accept it. It's not the same when you're Alexandria Taylor and you're, celebrating the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and, talking about this is a call to action for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Post after post after post. This is the right decision. This is the right decision, Alexandria Taylor said in 2020. Freepress.com quotes this headline: Detroit automakers Ford, General Motors, Chrysler agree to close all U.S. plants. This is the right decision, says Alexandria Taylor. And again, folks, I've gotten some flack for being critical of Matt DePerno for representing Todd Corser. And people say, well, he has a right to an attorney, and Matt DePerno has a right to a customer. Yeah, he does. But you have to acknowledge that when you run for public office, these become problem areas that you have to address. You can't just pretend didn't happen ever. So Jeff Fuss says, gee, so the speculation KK has been hijacked by the Dems. She is defended by them. Heck, maybe they write her script like Ken Byer, fourth district chair, joining to Dems in 20 and now being the district chair and vying to unelect Bill Huizenga as congressman. Jeff, look, I don't know who Ken Byer is, so I don't want to comment on him personally. But I would just say, based on your accusations, assuming they were true, I have said for a long time, it's okay to criticize Republicans, but don't do so in an official capacity as a district chair, a state chair, a county chair. That's not your position. That's not your job. You can put on your liberty hat and criticize rhinos, but don't use your chair seat to attack Republicans, because that's not what that job is, and that's not what people donated money to do. So anyway, I've been ranting for a long time. Patty's been yawning and looking at her phone. I can tell because
I'm sorry. I'm feeling kind of run down too. So
I think we should probably call a stream pretty soon, but we are not done. Well, we are okay. Let's tell you what, folks. It's almost an hour. Almost an hour. I have to get up early too. I will just say this: we have the document, which was in today's email. It's gotten around everywhere. So if you haven't already seen it, check it out. It is, hold on, let me pull it up here. The report from Warren Carpenter, the failed leadership of the Karamo administration. And you guys need to get this stuff into the hands of your precinct delegates, because here's what's going to happen. And I guess we shouldn't go through this whole document. It's 140 pages, but 16 pages are the actual thing, and then the rest are all exhibits. Here's the thing. There will be county conventions. February 15th, I believe. Is that correct, Patty? February 15th?
Thursday, 7 p.m.
And they will elect delegates to the state, well, what normally would be a state convention.
We're calling it, they're district delegates.
District delegates, okay.
District convention, district delegates.
Very, very strange. But so there will be this event in March, I guess. Is it? Yeah, late or mid-March, the district caucuses.
Convention?
The district conventions, okay.
March 2nd at Cobo Hall.
Okay.
Or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the district convention, district caucuses, whatever. Ordinarily, there's a thing called the state convention. And a component of that might be what's called the district caucuses. This time, apparently, there's only these district level events.
Yes, we will all be under the same roof at Huntington Place. Is that what it's
So
called?
how do we elect our national committee man and national committee woman? Just by district? They're going to count the votes. They're going to tabulate them separately?
We will not be meeting as a state. Correct. We will be in 13 different rooms.
So
maybe.
So we'll be meeting in one place in 13
Yeah,
separate
I questioned
sublocations.
that. I did question that. We had a meeting on like a Q&A session on Monday. And
Yes,
I
it's
asked
all-
about that, like, why are we doing it? And they said the RNC recommended it or something. I don't know. I mean, there's still time. I mean, if it's not
Yeah.
required, I think it
I've
would
heard
be
there has
nice.
to be some sort of central event.
I don't
but-
think it has to be. I just think that my favorite source I heard, but I was told that the RNC said they would like it to be that, but I don't know if that means it has to be that.
I've heard that from my favorite source. I heard it has to be there. That's why they did it that way.
That's what they said in the Q&A. So I'm going to take their word for it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
But the strange so here's what's going on, and this is confusing for a lot of people. So let me go through all of this for the benefit of everybody. There is a process for the nomination of the president of the United States, and then there is also the election of delegates to the national convention. So in previous years, ordinarily, there is a primary election, and then there is county conventions that elect delegates to a state convention from each county, who then separate first into districts and elect national delegates for those districts. And then they convene together into a general session where they elect their national committee man, the national committee woman, and I think a few other at-large national delegates. What's going to happen this year is on February 15th, before the primary, we will elect delegates to this state convention. That's not a state convention exactly.
Let's call it a district convention.
A district convention. And then a couple weeks later will be the actual primary. And then there will be this district convention. So there's a few considerations here to talk about. The first is at the district convention, they will have a vote among the district delegates who they support for the nominee for president. They will also have a vote for who they support for national committee man, national committee woman. Apparently, they will just separately tabulate the results from each of these district caucuses to compute who the winner is, which is bizarre, but that's, I guess, how they're going to do it.
Just got to add them together, I guess.
Yeah. I guess that's okay. But there could potentially be some other kind of fuckery, because fuckery often happens at conventions. Because when delegates assemble at a convention, they don't just start by choosing their national delegates or choosing who their presidential preference is. They start by adopting the rules, and they adopt the report of the credentials committee that says who is allowed to be here. Well, there are some counties in Michigan where who the counties themselves think should be state delegates is in a bit of disputation. Places like Kalamazoo, perhaps in Hillsdale, I don't know. So there might be credentials committee issues. And then there is this other aspect of it, which is the adoption of the rules, which could possibly go any kind of crazy way. So, for example, Barry says convention rules for March 2nd, 23, approved by the state committee. There will be a state committee meeting, he says, at 8:30 p.m. to review compiled district voting. Okay, but what happens if the delegates in convention assembled disagree with the state committee? Because this happened once. We had a state convention where the state committee approved rules and the state committee approved certain delegations. And then at the convention, the state delegates said, okay, let's amend the rules. Let's reject the Credentials Committee report. Let's amend it. Let's change this one delegation in Macomb County for a different one. This is the danger that happens at these conventions. That can happen at these conventions.
That Macomb issue took what, 4 hours? 5
About
hours?
4 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty ugly. It was pretty ugly.
And people were voting, and people didn't know what a yes vote meant versus a no vote, and many people weren't even informed enough to make a vote.
Yeah, it was totally chaotic. So
yeah,
possibly if these 13 district delegations never get together into one single room to do any statewide business, this won't be a huge problem. I would not make that assumption.
That's what they said.
I would not make that assumption. I would never assume that anything is safe at any convention, because things aren't. Crazy stuff happens at conventions all the time. That's the rule, not the exception. So at these county conventions on February 15th, you guys are going to elect state delegates. I want to know where precinct delegates stand who want to go to state convention on more than one issue here. And I think what Mike County is going to do is give people an optional tool, a form where if they want to announce where they stand on these things, they can. They're not obliged to. When we have our county convention, delegates can vote for whoever they want as they choose based on the information that they have put in front of them. But for anyone that wants to be a state delegate from my county, I've got a lot of questions. Question number one, who's your presidential preference? Mm-hmm. Question two.
Whoa. Didn't I say this on Sunday and you poo-pooed me?
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is a secondary concern.
Just saying.
Well, and let me say, and to be clear, since Pat reminded me about how much I poo-pooed her, Donald Trump will be the nominee.
I didn't quantify it. I just said it was a yes or no.
Donald Trump will be the nominee, even if he doesn't win the Michigan delegation, I think. However,
it can. It's like Paula says.
I was listening to someone today who made the point. There's nothing they won't do to stop Trump. What if the deep state murders him? That's a horrible thing to think about, but it's not the first time. It wouldn't be the first time it's ever happened. Ask RFK Jr. Because here's the thing, folks. When there's a national convention, delegates are bound to the winner of their state or their district, depending on the circumstances, unless that candidate is no longer in the race for whatever reason. So I also want to know who's their second choice. Because if your second choice is Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy, I'm good with you. If your second choice is Nimrata Haley or Chris Christie, I want to keep you the fuck away from the state convention because you're a lunatic.
Yeah.
So I want to know your second choice too. And then there's the
my question would be though, why would you make it optional?
Because
this is a representative form of government, right? These people are going to represent other delegates at a district convention. So, to me, it's not optional.
Well, I think a candidate, because I think it's up to the delegates. And if the delegates want to support someone that didn't give information, okay, so for example, there's this website called, what's it called? ontheissues.org.
Yeah, exactly, Paula. Yeah.
And they have this survey, and it says, tell us everything you think about every issue under the sun. If you're running for office, you should be able to fill out our survey on theissues.org. Fill out our survey. And I would tell any client I ever had, do not fill out that survey because it's just rope to hang you with. Everyone that's filled out that survey, I've used their survey results against them because it's, giving them so many questions to throw at them. So, it'd be like asking a mandate for a candidate. You have to fill out that survey to be eligible. I don't think you should be. I think if you decline to fill it out, delegates could take that into consideration and maybe not support you because you didn't say. But I don't think I would want to deprive a candidate of their right to refuse to answer questions. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, it's between a candidate and the voters, which in this case would be the precinct delegates. So I think you should give them the option to. I don't think you should make it mandatory. I think it shows respect for the precinct delegates that they can draw their own inference by someone's refusal to answer a survey. So that's my opinion on it.
That's one way of looking at it.
So anyway,
what else do you want to know? First choice, second choice, what else?
National committee man, national committee woman.
Absolutely.
They're going to vote on that at the state convention. And
I have a question on that. Is it true that the deadline has passed, so there will not be any more candidates?
I think so. Yes.
So that's all we have.
Yeah. So Rob Steele, we talked about this on Sunday night. Rob Steele versus Ralph Rebant.
Was Ralph official though? I mean, I didn't get anything announcement or anything.
I think so. And for RNC committee woman, there's Hima, there's
Bernadette and Linda Lee Tarver.
Bernadette and Linda Lee Tarver. So there's 3.
Have we seen an announcement from Linda Lee Tarver?
I haven't. Randy says Ralph is official. I don't know what the official listing is for the national committee woman.
Like, shouldn't we know that by now? Like, that's just simple communication.
Yeah. You would think. I don't know why Kristina hasn't posted that someplace. Also, by the way, if there's 3, there has to be a runoff, or there might have to be a runoff. So there's another consideration.
No, I think one of those is working really hard.
Well, we'll see. But there still should be the availability of the option for a runoff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's president, second choice president, committee man, committee woman, and then I think also I want to know from any state delegate, would you support any form of changing the state party bylaws? Anything Kristina Karama would do? That's a question I would want up or down. I want to know that from people. And I think we all need to be talking to precinct delegates about this because I think there's a lot of them out there that don't know anything about what's going on. And they're probably happy to go with the Kristina narrative. Oh, everyone that's against me is a globalist, rhino, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Barry says bylaws are a hot mess as it is now. Yeah, and the way to fix that is with a deliberative process, not for a mob convention to decide how to fix them. Jeff says, crispy cream donuts for life. That's Chris Christie. It's hard to ignore. Face blue, smiling. Okay, I can't quite follow all that. Hitman 48 on Rumble says KK can't follow her own bylaws. Charlotte Cosmic says, can we add no inside trading for public functionaries like Debbie Dingell and Stabenow made millions? I don't know what that's in reference to. Chris G says, Trump's the only one that can save USA. Vivek second. Hitman 48 says, Trump leading in Michigan anyway. Yep. That's true. I mean, I would have no objection to announcing I would support Trump at the convention because Trump will be the nominee at the convention. And I think anyone trying to sabotage Trump at convention is a saboteur, as we saw in 2016. And for more about that, by the way.
Why is it being a sabotage? Is it being a saboteur?
Because how do you win the convention if you don't have the majority of delegates? Just realistically, who in the world's going to get more delegates than Trump at the national convention?
That still doesn't, you still don't take away someone's chance to vote for somebody else if they're district delegate, if they want to vote for somebody else.
Okay. What I'm saying is I'm making a prediction that Trump will have a dominating majority of votes at primaries, of delegates from conventions. He will be the presumptive nominee. And I don't want to take away from the fact that minorities have rights. And I come from the experience of being a Ron Paul supporter that was trying to get our national delegates at the national convention to do all that we can for him. But what has happened at national conventions has been real attempts to overthrow the results of the election.
Okay, but you're skipping ahead to the national convention. I'm talking about district convention, right?
Right, but we won't know the results of the various.
Well, how many other states are doing this weird thing that we're doing anyway?
We're one of the first states. That's the issue.
Right, but who else is doing this kind of weird thing versus just having a primary?
Well, Iowa has caucuses. Some states have caucuses. And there's always conventions for the election of the national delegates. That's not unusual.
Right, but that follows the vote of the primary election of the people. Whereas we
but there's still lots of room. There's still lots of room when you have national delegates who might not agree with the results of the election. The best history of all this is A Choice Not an Echo by Phyllis Schlafly, which documents the history of every Republican National Convention from like 1908 to the present, or I should say until 2016. 2012, actually. She passed away before Trump won in 2016. Kevin Hurley asks, what's up with Colorado? Watch our stream from the top, Kevin. We talked about that at the beginning. KK says, keeps saying that Wayne County has been ignored for years. Yeah, I haven't heard anything from her. Yeah, Kristina's been trying to hijack the Wayne County Republican Party for a long time for some.
Yeah, but Paula, no offense, but do you really want to hear from her on that special election?
You're no kidding. Randy says that's exactly what most PDs are doing, just falling for KK's word salad. Yeah, folks, don't leave Rescue Michigan alone in beating up on Kristina and bring the truth to the precinct delegates, because they're on our email list. We need a full court press. We need lots of people to express to these precinct delegates what the truth of the matter is, because she's playing this game that is, I'm the grassroots and everyone against me is the establishment. And it's going to work unless people who are the grassroots are expressing to precinct delegates what the truth of the matter actually is. Don't take this for granted that everyone understands what's really going on. They don't. And you could wind up with a state delegation that's a bunch of wackos. It's a serious concern. So mind your counties. Start thinking right now about who you want to send to state convention. Start thinking about that right now, if you haven't already. It's that important. Randy says the narrative being painted by that KK was elected by an overwhelming majority is false. They're currently, yeah, I get that. Right. Yes. She was elected by a third, basically. Yeah. Okay. Charlotte Cosmic on Rumble says KK was with unauthorized Ohio, said she wasn't when she ran for SOS, lied about it, and resigned in October of 2023. Yep. Yeah, that's in the report. Yeah, and we talked about this on our show the other day. She was the president of this organization that was formed this year. So even if she's since resigned, it doesn't mean she wasn't on that organization for a long time. All right, guys, it's getting late and I got to get up early. And I think we've gone through a bunch of crazy stuff. The fun never stops, does it? Randy says, send that to PDs. I sent the Warren Carpenter report to 70,000 of my best friends today. So from here on out, it's on you guys. Dwayne says, whether or not you support President Trump, this outrageous action in Colorado is just wrong. The truth is Biden is ineligible for office under the 14th Amendment. I'm going to push back on that a little bit, Dwayne. I think two wrongs don't make a right, and I think it damages our cause to start talking about let's try to kick Biden off the ballot. I think that's a bad mistake to make. I think if you're saying what the Democrats did was insanely stupid and wrong and evil, then you can't say let's do the same thing and let's do it to Biden. Some people like Ron DeSantis said it in a rhetorical way to illustrate the hypocrisy, but there are politicians out there, Republicans, who are taking this seriously and are saying, yeah, let's demand we kick Biden off the ballot. That is, and I've said this on other issues in other contexts, but it's the same principle. Two wrongs don't make a right. And when you start saying, let's do the things the Democrats are doing, you're legitimizing the things that they've done. Don't do it. It's dangerous. Emma says, what are your thoughts on the Michigan electors? I saw it in Wisconsin. Those electors are saying they were tricked into signing. Do you think it's the case in Michigan? I'm worried they'll actually go to jail for this. Insane. There was, I think, one of those in Michigan, Emma. And the concern is that faced with these felony charges, people often will say what the prosecutor wants them to say to escape the threat themselves, and thereby damage all of their co-defendants. That's something that they understand is going on in Michigan and in Wisconsin, and it's terrible. It's awful. And they could go to jail for this. I think they need to put up a fight. They need to appeal this to the highest level. I think voters need to understand what a disgrace this is. People need to be outspoken about this being criminalizing contesting an election and how dangerous this is. But no, I mean, I hate to say it, folks. Politics is a contact sport, and there are real world consequences for people for speaking their minds. And you know what? Any day you can get charged with a bullshit crime. They just passed a law that says it's a crime, a felony, to make a materially false claim about an election. That's a huge attack on free speech. That is an impermissible chilling of free speech. But until that law gets overturned by a court, it's on the books, and it will chill speech. And you have to have the courage to say, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to speak my mind anyway. I'm going to speak the truth anyway. I'm going to run for office anyway. This is the kind of intimidation the civil rights movement faced. It's the exact same thing. And it's just the way it goes. So you should be worried for them. They're under threat. And the hope is that if we don't stop and we keep speaking out and keep speaking the truth and keep pointing out how absolute and to that, folks, I say this Wisconsin Supreme Court decision is a gift to us because it is so insane, so absurd. It is your appeal that this is a lynch mob that we're up against. We have to start calling it out for what it is. So I think I'm about ready to call this a stream. Patty, do you want to comment on that further, or I see some nice comments from our friends here?
No, so everyone's wishing Merry Christmas, Happy Festivus. That's on Saturday.
I'll be visiting my family on Festivus, but not because just because it's the day we happen to be.
I just wanted to go back to Randy's comment about, not 9,000 delegates, et cetera, but in that, that goes to our point of when you are voted to be a state delegate, you are representing other delegates.
Yeah.
Right. So if, you want to make sure you're voting for people, go to state convention that align with how you would vote if you were going yourself.
Yep. Because ultimately, if you're not going to state convention yourself, people that get elected will be the ones that decide.
Mm-hmm.
And let's hope they're the smart set.
I mean, arguably, that's how we should have been doing it all along, right? Like when we nominate AG or Secretary of State or all of those, right? Like, are you going to vote for DePerno or are you going to vote for Tom Leonard? Like delegates should have been like, it was just, who wants to go? Okay. And then you just vote for people with no consideration of who they support. Well, we're a representative form of government and it starts from the delegates on up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ideally you should have been like, well, I want to go to state convention and these are just an example, but I support, Tom Leonard and, the lady from Chesterfield. I don't remember her name. I'm sorry, for Secretary of State. Right?
It's a contest, and
that's how it should be.
And cheers to the 6th congressional district delegation for supporting Scott Greenleaf for state chair in the first round of ballots because they knew.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we did. The first choice for the 6th congressional district was Scott Greenleaf.
Yeah.
So, all right. Hey, Barry says, Merry Christmas. You guys are great to watch from and learn. Thank you so much, Barry. We really do appreciate it. Cynthia Berry Paula says that was the other one.
Yeah.
That ran for SOS.
I got Chesterfield right, East Side.
I voted for Kristina for SOS. I think she could have been a good SOS.
No, I did too. I'm just saying. I'm just giving an example of like really. And then I did actually reach out to MRP about if we're gonna have the April endorsing convention and the August nominating convention again. And I haven't heard back yet, but I just emailed yesterday or the day before. So
yeah. All right, guys. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a safe and Merry Christmas. This will be going into the garbage. And no more ugly Christmas sweaters.
Are we going to do any streams, or should I give my Go Blue now?
We'll do something. I don't know if we're going to do it. We didn't do one so much last year, but the year before we had a huge New Year's, like crazy 10-hour live stream with a whole crap ton of guests.
Well, I'm just letting you know now. I will be at the Rose Bowl.
Okay.
So I will not be available.
All right.
So
we'll figure something out. All right. Good night, guys. Thanks as always.
Merry Christmas, everybody.